Well, there are a lot of you, aren't there? That's why we were late. Sorry, we're trying to let everyone get in and get a seat today. Welcome. My name is Donald Bruce. I'm Dean of the College of Arts here at the University of Guelph. And we're very pleased to have so many of you here today for this rather special presentation we have by Naomi Klein and in conversation with Barry Smith from here at the University of Guelph. Since there are so many of you, no doubt this is a topic that is of great interest. And I think also you come out because of the renown of the speaker and the things that she has to say on this topic. Since about 2010, we partnered with the Eden Mills Writers Festival in bringing in keynote speakers during the annual festival. And amongst these speakers, we've had Wade Davis, Sheila Grant, Michael Pollan, Sarah Elton, all of whom have spoken about issues which are very important to all of us in the contemporary world. And we're very pleased to continue this partnership again this year with Naomi Klein. In passing, I note that apparently Eden Mills is one of the first communities in North America to declare as a goal becoming carbon neutral. So go Eden Mills. The partners in this group who sponsor the event, the College of Arts, the College of Biological Sciences, Café Philosophique, Astra, that's the Art, Science, Technology Research Alliance, the Bookshelf here in downtown Guelph, and the Eden Mills Writers Festival, all believe that it is an essential role and duty of the university and of the writer to serve as a focal point for facilitating public debate about important issues that face us all. And since we are currently in a federal election season, this is no doubt a very good time to discuss and analyze public issues, given the spirit of debate and critical inquiry which is in the air. Most of the events at the Eden Mills Writers Festival take place tomorrow, Sunday, September 13th, in Eden Mills. The schedule of these events is on the website. It's very easy to find. Just Google it for Eden Mills Writers Festival. There are free shuttle buses from the University Center here on campus and from the Sleeman Center downtown that start at 11 o'clock. So if you want to check that out, see who the speakers are. There are a number of different writers who will be in attendance at the Writers Festival, some known, some unknown, some young, some old, but it's always a very stimulating time and an interesting event. I encourage you to attend if you can. And now to today's event. Our program will consist of a book reading and a commentary by Naomi Klein, and then a conversation between Naomi and University Professor Emeritus Barry Smith, an audience question and answer period, so you'll have a chance to ask some questions about Naomi's book and the questions that will be discussed today, and then afterwards a book signing. Books will be available for purchase at that end of the hall, and the signing will take place at this end of the hall. So if you'd like to do that, and you get your book, you line up down the center here, please, and we'll have some people to help you get ready so we can move the whole thing along. The book signing will have to end at about a little after 3 o'clock because Naomi Klein has another engagement later in the day. That said, I now call upon Dr. Barry Smith to introduce our speaker, but first, I'd like to give you a little background about his own work in and expertise in climate change. Barry Smith has had a long and distinguished career at the University of Guelph and has been recognized as a leading researcher in the area of climate change. He is Professor Emeritus in Geography and has held a prestigious Canada Research Chair in Global Environment Change. His research and practice on climate change impacts and adaptation span more than 30 years, and he's authored over 100 scientific papers and 4 books. Barry's work has been influential in international negotiations on climate change and has been applied in development initiatives in Asia, Africa, the Americas, the Arctic, and elsewhere. He has collaborated with major UN organizations and international development agencies and has advised governments in countries as diverse as Norway, USA, Bangladesh, and the UK. In Canada, he has counseled federal and provincial governments, the Senate, and business and community groups. He served on Ontario's expert panel on climate change adaptation. As a member of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, he was a co-recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize in 2007. For service to Canadian society, he was invested in the Order of Ontario in 2013 and received the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal. And in 2013, he was awarded the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council of Canada Gold Medal, that organization's highest honor for research. Please welcome Dr. Barry Smith.
There's a film version of the book, This Changes Everything. And it premieres tomorrow at the Toronto International Film Festival at the Ryerson Theatre. And there's 2 other showings as part of the TIFF. It's also going to be screened at Guelph's own Bookshelf Cinema from October 9 to October 22nd. So you'll have the opportunity to see it right here in Guelph. And as an appetizer for that film and for our discussion, Naomi has arranged for a preview of that film, and that'll be shown now.
The majority of the human race does not see global warming as a serious threat. Celebrate! Climate legislation is dead.
We, in the global north, with less than 20% of the population, are responsible for over 70% of global emissions.
We are drilling all over the place.
On the other side of the world, those people who are the most affected by climate change, most affected by environmental injustice, have the least responsibility for creating this crisis in the first place.
The amount of fossil fuel that we're combusting year on year is growing. We're going in completely the wrong direction.
I've spent 6 years wandering through the wreckage caused by the carbon in the air and the economic system that put it there.
That old paradigm will be forced to change, either by the environment around us or by us.
We are all part of this movement!
When you see communities who are thrown into the front line, and you see the incredible transformation, they become stronger, they stand up.
So here's the big question. What if global warming isn't only a crisis? What if it's the best chance we're ever going to get to build a better world? Change or be changed?
There are limits. Let's celebrate the limits because we can reinvent a different future.
More to come. We're very fortunate to have Naomi Klein here in Guelph today in person. Naomi is an internationally recognized journalist, author, activist, filmmaker. She's published in the New York Times, the Washington Post, Newsweek, The Guardian, Globe and Mail, Rolling Stone, lots of places. She has numerous awards for journalism and for activist scholarship. She's a contributing editor to Harper's. That's Harper's the magazine, not Harper's the political campaign. Although that's a fascinating idea, isn't it? And while with Harper's, her reporting from Iraq in 2004 won her the James Aronson Award for Social Justice Journalism. She served as a fellow at the London School of Economics and at the Nation Institute. She's a board member of 350.org. And she's widely recognized as one of the world's top intellectuals. Now, her first book, No Logo was an international bestseller. Got many accolades. For instance, the Literary Review of Canada named it one of the 100 most important Canadian books ever published. And No Logo actually has a particular fascination for me. When I was about 18, I started playing golf. And I noticed that everyone who played golf would wear hats with the logos of golf companies. And this is not just the professionals, this is hackers like me wandering through the woods and the swamps looking for their balls. And they were paying 4 times the price of a hat to the logo. And I was poor, so I couldn't afford them, but I also thought this was bizarre. So I declared to myself that I wasn't going to wear any of these logos in my attire, unless the companies paid me for so doing. Now, it may surprise you to learn that in the 4 decades or so thereafter, no company has ever come to me and offered to sponsor. So when Naomi's book came out, I was overjoyed. And my daughters and my friends were too. They gave me gifts of these books. I think I had about 6 of them at one time. So it's no wonder that it's an international bestseller. Her next book, The Shock Doctrine, also an international bestseller, appeared on many best of the year lists. And it too challenged conventions. And it drew both praise and condemnation, as challenging works of journalism should do. And it also spawned a short film and a full-length documentary that was premiered at the Sundance Film Festival. But today we're talking about her latest book, this one. This Changes Everything, Capitalism versus the Climate. It's also an instant bestseller, critically acclaimed, winner of the 2014 Hilary Weston Writers' Trust Prize for Nonfiction. And for those who have not read the book, for those who have not yet read the book, this is an impressive, comprehensive critique of the state of the world. In my work, I examined PhD theses, and I've examined dozens in geography, in climate science, in economics, in political science, in biology, in lots of things. Yet this book synthesizes across all of those disciplines and more. It draws on history, psychology, philosophy, geology, engineering, ethics. It's amazingly impressive in its rigor and its scope. So you may agree with the conclusions or you may not, but you certainly can't challenge the substance and the rigor of the evidence and the arguments that are pulled together in this book. And also, it addresses not a trivial topic. It addresses fundamental challenges facing the Earth and all of us. Now, as a scientist, I, like hundreds of others, have sought to contribute by analysing changes in the environment, by seeking causes for changes, by documenting consequences of these changes for ecosystems, for economies, for societies, and for communities all around the world. But if you think of the Earth like the big ship Titanic, heading into grave danger, the work of us scientists is a little bit like shuffling the deck chairs around on the Titanic. Naomi Klein is doing something quite different. She's walked right up into the bridge, into the control room, and is arguing with the people there that you should change the course of this damn thing. So this is a profound book, a provocative book, a controversial book, and we are fortunate to have Naomi Klein here to talk about it. Please give a warm Guelph welcome to Naomi Klein.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are on the traditional territory of the Adowandaran First Nation. It's such an incredible honor to be introduced by a great scientist like Barry Smith, who has spent decades raising the alarm, documenting the reality of climate change, giving our leaders all the evidence they needed to act, and it is not rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. This is just such critical work, and we stand on the shoulders of giants. I want to thank all of our hosts here, University of Guelph. Thank you, Dean Bruce, for hosting us here. Thank you to the Eden Mills Festival, to Vicky Isatam and Kim Lang, in particular, to Bookshelf. I was just remembering that the last time I was in Guelph, it's been a really long time. It's actually since the last election campaign. I was here speaking at a rally supporting Thomas King, the wonderful Thomas King. An indication of just how influential I am. And so we are here to talk about climate change, but since this is part of a wonderful literary festival that I hope many of you will be participating in the coming days, I thought I would start with a short reading from the introduction of the book. And I decided to bring my son, Toma, here today. How are you doing, sweetie? He's doing really good. We'll see how long that lasts, but thank you, Jennifer, for helping make that calmness happen. And in honor of Toma, I'm going to read a little bit, part of the book that is actually about him when he was younger. He's 3 now. So, it won't be a long reading. What gets me are not the scary scientific studies about melting glaciers, the ones I used to avoid. It's actually the books I read to my 2-year-old. Looking for a Moose is one of his favorites. It's about a bunch of kids that really, really, really want to see a moose. They search high and low, through a forest, a swamp, in brambly bushes, and up a mountain for a long-legged, bulgy-nosed, branchy-antlered moose. The joke is that there are a moose hiding on every page, and they keep going, "Have you ever seen a moose?" "No, I've never seen a moose." In the end, the animals all come out of hiding, and the kids ecstatically proclaim, "We've never, ever, ever, ever seen so many moose." He just said, "Can we hear Benny and the Jets?" I think he's listening to Elton John as I speak. On about the 75th reading, it suddenly hit me. He might never see a moose. I tried to hold it together. I went back to my computer and began to write about my time in northern Alberta, tar sands country, where members of the Beaver Lake Cree Nation told me about how the moose had changed. One woman described killing a moose on a hunting trip, only to find that the flesh had already turned green. I heard a lot about strange tumors, too, with locals assuming that it had to do with the animals drinking water contaminated by tar sands toxins. But mostly I just heard about how the moose were gone. And not just in Alberta. Quote, "Rapid climate change turns North Woods into moose graveyard," reads a May 2012 headline in Scientific American. A year and a half later, the New York Times was reporting that one of Minnesota's 2 moose populations had declined from 4,000 in the 1990s to just 100 today. Will he ever see a moose? Then the other day, I was slain by a miniature board book called Snuggle Wuggle. Very embarrassing. It involves different animals cuddling with each poster given a ridiculously silly name. How does a bat hug, it asks. Topsy-turvy, topsy-turvy. For some reason, my son reliably cracks up at this page. I explained to him that it means upside down because that's the way bats sleep. But all I could think about was the report of some 100,000 dead and dying bats raining down from the sky in the midst of record-breaking heat across parts of Queensland, Australia. Whole colonies devastated. Will he ever see a bat? I knew I was in trouble the day I found myself bargaining with starfish. Red and purple ones are ubiquitous on the rocky Sunshine Coast of British Columbia, where my parents live, where my son was born, and where I've spent about half of my adult life. They're always the biggest kid pleasers because you can gently pick one up and give it a really good look. "This is the best day of my life," my 7-year-old niece Miriam, visiting from Chicago, proclaimed after a long afternoon spent in the tide pools. But in the fall of 2013, stories began to appear about a strange wasting disease that was causing starfish along the Pacific coast to die by the tens of thousands. Termed the sea star wasting disease, wasting syndrome, multiple species were disintegrating alive, their vibrant bodies melting into distorted globs with legs falling off and bodies caving in. Scientists were mystified. As I read these stories, I caught myself praying for the invertebrates to hang on for just one more year, long enough for my son to be amazed by them. Then I doubted myself. Maybe it's better if he never sees a starfish at all. Certainly not like this. When fear like that used to creep through my armor of climate change denial, I used to do my utmost to stuff it away, change the channel, click past it. Now, I try to feel it. It seems to me that I owe it to my son, just as we all owe it to ourselves and to one another. But what should we do with this fear that comes from living on a planet that is dying, made less alive every day? First, accept that it won't go away, that it is a fully rational response to an unbearable reality. Next, use it. Fear is a survival response. Fear makes us run, it makes us leap, it can make us act superhuman. But we need somewhere to leap to. Without that, the fear is just paralyzing. So the real trick, the only hope really, is to allow the terror of an unlivable future to be balanced and soothed by the prospect of building something much better than many of us had previously dared hope. Yes, there will be things we will lose, luxuries some of us will have to give up, whole industries that will disappear. But it's too late to stop, and it's too late to stop climate change from coming. It's already here, and increasingly brutal disasters are headed our way, no matter what we do. But it's not too late to avert the worst, and there is still time to change ourselves so that we are far less brutal to one another when those disasters strike. And that, it seems to me, is worth a great deal. Because the thing about a crisis this big, this all-encompassing, is that it changes everything. It changes what we can do, what we can hope for, what we can demand from ourselves and from our leaders. It means that there's a whole lot of stuff that we've been told is inevitable that simply cannot stand. And it means there's a whole lot of stuff we've been told is impossible that has to start happening right away. Can we pull it off? All I know is that nothing is inevitable. Nothing except that climate change changes everything. And for a very brief time, the nature of that change is still up to us. So that concludes the reading part of the evening. There may be a little bit more. But I do just want to ask you to bookmark that idea that fear can make us leap, because it's something I'm going to be coming back to at the end of the talk. So a little update. This past summer, I actually went back to the Sunshine Coast of BC where my family lives, and I was delighted that a few of the starfish had come. And Toma was able to see some bright purple starfish and get to know them a little bit. We even saw a pod of orcas, and the salmon, the spring salmon were leaping. But at the same time, all is not well. The beaches were coated in soot from wildfires that had been raging. The region, the Sunshine Coast and many other parts of BC were under stage 4 water conservation, which means absolutely no outdoor water use whatsoever. And most disturbingly of all, the salmon streams were desiccated, just bone dry in a lot of cases. And some of you may know that in the book I write about this particular hatchery that is the symbol of the way we need to work with nature as opposed to just controlling it, giving that helping hand, and the ways in which the salmon streams have been carefully restored, and hundreds of volunteers work in this hatchery powered by renewable energy, and release hundreds of thousands of salmon spawn into this particular creek every year. But they had to shut down. They had to shut down this summer because they had no water, so they couldn't do their work. So that's just one example of the kind of impacts we're seeing. And of course, this is not just about BC. Yet again, Calgary flooded this summer. Wildfires shut down tar sands operations in northern Alberta. The prairies are parched in Ontario. As you know, we've been having these very freaky winters where it's either kind of no winter at all or Arctic tundra, seemingly nothing in between. And of course, this is nothing compared to the kinds of impacts in other parts of the world. Thousands have died in India and Pakistan this summer in heat waves. And 2015, we now know, is the hottest year ever measured. This year's May was the hottest May ever recorded. June was the hottest June ever recorded. And July, the July that just passed, was not just the hottest July ever recorded, it was the hottest month ever recorded. So that was history. So the ice is melting faster, the temperatures are rising faster than we thought, and there are other impacts too. We're now seeing clearer and clearer connections between extreme weather and conflict. And there's new research out that connects the Syrian conflict to a record drought that took place there in recent years, and how that intensified the conflict, and of course is intimately related to the refugee crisis. So Stephen Harper, I keep hearing, he doesn't want to open Canada's borders to more refugees, but he says he wants to get at the root causes of the refugee crisis. So I'm assuming that means that he wants to shut down the tar sands. Now, I'm being a bit oversimplifying. There are many causes of that conflict, including military dictatorship we have supported, military intervention, but it is one of the drivers. And I think it is an important reminder as Canadians discuss opening up our borders to more refugees, and there's just been incredible acts of compassion, of people opening their homes, their churches, taking it upon themselves to act. But I also think we should remember that this isn't just about compassion. It's also about justice. It's also that we have a responsibility in an interdependent globe. So climate impacts are coming fast. They're coming fast and furious, but they're not the only things that are coming at us fast. Renewables are improving faster than we ever thought, technologically and also price-wise. The price of solar is now down 75%, and this is happening faster than anybody predicted. It is now as cheap or cheaper than fossil fuels, renewable energy, in most parts of the world. There were days this past summer when Denmark generated far more power from its wind farms than it could use itself, so it exported its wind-generated power to Germany and Sweden. In Germany, meanwhile, there are days when solar panels provide more than half the electricity. On average, renewable energy in Germany provides 30% of its electricity. And Germany has been part of this, has initiated this incredible energy transformation over the past decade and a half. It's just really accelerated. And the other piece of good news is that it shows that we have really been told this lie, that we have to choose between jobs and acting on climate. Because in Germany, they have created 400,000 jobs in renewable energy as part of this very bold transition. And research here in Canada out of the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives shows us that when we invest in renewables, energy efficiency, and public transit, we create 6 to 8 times more jobs than when we invest that dollar in oil and gas. So this is a lie that we've been told. So this is a powerful moment to change, where a lot is lining up. The scientists are telling us clearly that we must change, that we're running out of time. The engineers are telling us we can do it. The technology is ready. There's a study that shows that Canada could get to 100% renewable for its electricity in the next 2 decades. There's a research team out of Stanford University led by an engineer named Mark Jacobson, who's published very widely, saying that the entire globe can get to 100% renewables within the next 3 decades, much faster than we had thought. So the science is saying we have to, the engineers are telling us that we can do it. We have countries like Germany we can look to as models. This isn't pie in the sky. It works. And yet, we're not leaping in most parts of the world. In Canada, we seem to still have lead feet. And of course, it's not just Canada. It's true of many other industrialized countries. But, you know, in Canada, it's particularly striking that we aren't rising to this moment, particularly because the collapse in the price of oil in the past 8 or 9 months has showed us so clearly that it doesn't make economic sense either to bet your entire economy on volatile commodities. We're seeing this so clearly. And yet, our leaders are failing to lead in line with science. But people are doing it anyway, and we have seen these incredible movements every time our leaders teaming with industry try to build new, expansive fossil fuel infrastructure projects. In the book, I call this phenomenon blockadia, because that's a phrase that came out of the fight against the Keystone XL pipeline in the United States. People who built the camp to block the pipeline, the southern leg of the pipeline, from being constructed, they called their camp blockadia. But blockadia is not just one, camp in Texas. It is a state of mind. It is people coming together in their communities and taking responsibility, drawing the line and saying here and no further, protecting their local land, their air, their water, but also in the process, keeping that carbon in the ground. And we're seeing this every time people resist a tar sands pipeline, whether it's Energy East, whether it's Northern Gateway, every time people come together to stop natural gas fracking, whether in Elsipogtog or Quebec, and in every single one of these fights, First Nations are on the front lines, leading, and also it is their rights, their Indigenous land rights, their treaties, their unceded land rights, that are the most powerful legal weapons in standing in the way of these disastrous projects. So people are leading. It's a partisan time. It's an election time. And I know this is a politically engaged audience, and many of you are out there campaigning for one party or another. But none of the major political parties actually have a policy that is genuinely in line with science. They're all still buying the idea that it's heresy to not have one tar sands pipeline that you're willing to cheer for. This is true for Mulcair. It's true for Trudeau. They've picked their pipelines. And when you have a wonderful candidate like Linda McQuaig, who dares to just say a simple truth on television, like a lot of people believe that we need to keep the majority of tar sands bitumen in the ground. She is, of course, pilloried, and this is supposedly a completely unelectable message. So it seems elections and hard truths don't get along very well, which brings me to the title of the book. The reason I call the book This Changes Everything is because I think when we talk about climate change in 2015, we have to start from the premise that because we've waited so long, because we haven't listened to the scientists who have been telling us we need to act since the 80s, and because we have simultaneously made the problem so much worse, there are no non-radical options left on the table. So one way or another, climate change changes everything, as you just heard in that trailer. If we stay on this road we're on, that road leads to 4 to 6 degrees of warming. This is an estimate that doesn't come from Greenpeace, that doesn't come from 350.org. It comes from the World Bank. It comes from the International Energy Agency that says we're headed on a 4 to 6 degree trajectory if we continue with what is called business as usual. PricewaterhouseCoopers, the accounting firm, says that we're actually headed towards 6 degrees. I mean, 6 degrees Celsius warming is unimaginable. We're dealing with the impacts of less than 1 degree warming right now. When our governments met in Copenhagen, they said that they agreed to keep temperatures below 2 degrees warming, including the Canadian government agreed to that. Now, at the time, this was seen by small island states as completely unacceptable. They protested in the hallways of the summit, shouting 1.5 to survive, 1.5 to survive, because 2 degrees would, by many calculations, raise sea levels beyond survival for them. African delegates marched through the hallways of the convention center in Copenhagen in 2009 and called it a death sentence for Africa. They called it genocide. Because Africa would see warming of around 3 to 3.5 degrees, according to some modeling. But this is what our governments agreed to. They defined dangerous as 2 degrees, and we're blowing way past it. Even with all the pledges that we're seeing from the US, from China, it still doesn't add up to 2 degrees. So that means a changed world. It means a changed world. In the book, I quote Kevin Anderson, an emission reduction specialist at the Tyndall Centre in Manchester, England, saying that it's not at all clear that a 4-degree world is compatible with anything we would describe as civilized society. So we stay on that road. Everything changes. In the physical world, there are some geoengineers, and I have a chapter about them in the book, who say, well, the solution is to hack the planet. Let's turn down the sun, let's spray sulfur in the stratosphere, let's fertilize the oceans. That's pretty radical. So that's one radical future we're looking at. It is not too late for us to do what is necessary to give ourselves a good shot at staying below 2 degrees warming, or even 1.5 if we decided to treat it as a true civilizational crisis in the way we treated the fight against fascism. But doing so would require changing everything about our political system and our economic system. So we have a variety of choices, and all of them are radical. That's hard for a lot of people to accept. And I say in my book that it's not just the right-wing free market fundamentalists who are having their worldview challenged by climate change, and I talk a lot about that. It's also the sort of studied centrists, who occupy so much space in our political culture, who don't deny the science, but do deny the radical implications of the science, because everything has to be small steps reformism according to their worldview. But the world is changing. So the argument I make in the book is that if we want to understand why we have failed so spectacularly to meet this civilizational challenge with the commitment that it deserves, one of the things that best explains it, in my view, is a case of epic bad timing, which is that this crisis landed on our laps at the worst possible moment. I was just talking to Barry backstage, and he was telling me about the first climate summit that he went to in 1988. That was the first year that governments got together and agreed to come up with a plan to lower emissions. It was held in Toronto. It was actually chaired by my father-in-law, Stephen Lewis, funnily enough. He was at the UN at the time. And it produced a fantastic document. And that was the year, 1988, that the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change was formed, the body that won the Nobel Prize, that Barry is a part of. So what else was happening in 1988 when the alarm was really being raised, when this was going to be the issue, when Time magazine put Planet Earth on the cover and said this was its man of the year, we're going to save the world, 1988. Well, 1988 was the year that Canada and the US signed the first free trade agreement of its kind that then became the prototype for NAFTA, and is now the prototype for the TPP, and really was, this was the model that created the globalization era in many ways. It was the year before the Berlin Wall collapsed and Francis Fukuyama declared history over, that there was one model of governance, of free market ideology that was going to sweep the world. And it did. And it really did. So that ideological project, and this is obviously, as many of you know, this is the subject of my last book, of how that ideological project swept the world, often against the will of the countries where it was being imposed. We are familiar with that ideological project because it's the air we breathe. In many parts of the world, it's called neoliberalism. It's just the status quo. It's the idea that the role of government is just to get out of the way of business and pursue short-term profit and growth at all costs. And the policies that enable this are deregulation, low taxes for the rich, free trade deals that lock it in, privatizations of the public sphere. This is the cookie-cutter model. So the problem with that model, with the idea, that as Reagan said, the 9 most dangerous words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. The problem with that model is that it's totally incompatible with a crisis like climate change, because it wages war, systematic war, on the idea of collective action. When Charles Koch announced a few months ago that he and his brother David, the Koch brothers, were going to spend $900 million, almost $1 billion, in the next presidential election cycle. That's more than the Democrats and the Republicans. As my friend Bill McKibben says, the Koch brothers, party of two. That what Charles Koch said was that money was to hold back the march of collectivism. Hold back the march of collectivism. So it's important to understand that, because the Koch brothers fund all kinds of policy work, whether it's rolling back Social Security, whether it's fighting climate policy, whether it is fighting labor protections. But this is what unites it for them. That's all collectivism, collective action, people coming together, making policies, protecting one another. All of that is what the war is against, so that the individual reigns supreme. Right? This is the ideological project. So here we face the essence of a collective crisis that we can only solve by cooperating within our countries, between our countries, and it hits us at this time where war is being waged on the collective. Concretely, we need to regulate corporations. We need to tell them there are a whole bunch of things they can't do. But our politicians are being told that is command and control thinking, Soviet thinking. So what they have to do is create markets in emission trading. They need market-based solutions, which have proven so far to be quite a spectacular failure in Europe, where they have the largest emission trading system. We also need to pay for this huge transition, transform our energy grids, invest massively in public transit. But it comes at a time where we're systematically lowering taxes on corporations, on the wealthy. So our governments are constantly telling us that they're broke. But not only that, during these key years, the 1990s, the early 2000s, our governments are systematically selling off those parts of the public sphere that are at the center of that transition, selling off our energy grids. Some governments are still determined to sell off our energy grids, selling off, our rail systems, our airlines, and this is, and deregulating sectors like airlines. And this has made it much harder to introduce policies that can change things very, very quickly. And this is something that you see clearly in the German energy transition. One of the things we don't hear enough about is how that transition has happened. One of the ways it's happened is that in hundreds of cities and towns, people have voted to take back control over their energy grids. So the Merkel government has introduced a feed-in tariff program that creates incentives for people to generate their own their own local renewable energy. But a lot of the big utilities feel it's still more profitable to do it the old way, so they don't want to participate. And so in big cities and small towns, people have decided to take back control over their energy grids. In the book, I tell the story of Hamburg, where there was a referendum and there was a vote, and people voted to take back their grid, specifically so that they could get to 100% renewable energy. And in Germany, people believe that there's just a straight-up conflict between that very short-term thinking of just maximizing short-term profits and the kind of effort that's needed to get to 100% renewables very, very quickly. The other thing that you see when you look at this is that there's a conflict between free trade agreements and what we have to do in the face of climate change. Germany is facing a huge trade challenge using one of these investor state clauses that allows corporations to sue governments. There's a Swedish company called Vattenfall, which ran one of the dirty utilities in Germany, and is now suing the German government for 4.7 billion euros for their energy transition, which they say takes away business from their company. Ontario has been challenged at the World Trade Organization for its green energy transition, which had a clause that specifically said that solar and wind technology had to be produced, a certain percentage of it, a good percentage of it, 40 to 60% of it, in Ontario. It created 31,000 jobs. In the book I tell the story of an auto parts plant that was closed down and reopened as a solar plant manufacturing facility, and many workers who'd lost their jobs at Chrysler and other auto firms got jobs making solar panels. But then Canada was challenged by Japan and by the European Union. And you can bet that the Harper government didn't fight very hard on our behalf. At the WTO, we lost that challenge. We've also seen the U.S. challenge India and China for the same thing, for so-called protectionist subsidies for renewable energy, which is absolute madness, because then all of our governments turn around and say, well, the reason we can't cut our emissions is because it doesn't matter because of China and India. And yet we're undermining their governments at the World Trade Organization, trying to knock down their windmills. It's a little crazy. So once you start looking at climate change, I have these... I have some friends in the environmental movement who say, climate change was already big enough. Did you have to make it about capitalism? And this is, I get the criticism, but the thing is that once you really dig into this issue, it really does light up all these other issues. I've been in rooms like this, dozens and dozens of times over the past year, and as the discussion starts getting going, other issues come up, right? Like, well, how can we do this when our electoral system is corrupt and our politicians are bought and paid for? So then we're talking about campaign finance, and then we're talking about whether we even have a functional democracy. So then we're talking about democratic reform, and then we're talking about whether people are informed at all about these issues. So then we're talking about media concentration. So it really does require a transformative agenda. Luckily, a bunch of us have been working on that. I want to leave time for the discussion, so I'm going to speed up a little bit. But now, those of you who know a little bit about my last book about the shock doctrine know that one of the things that really concerns me is how moments of crisis, moments of shock, if progressives don't have their acts together and don't know, what we want to do to solve the crisis, then they become moments for corporations and the politicians that support them to push through policies that are really antithetical to what people want. And I call this the shock doctrine. There's a classic example of this, and it's, we all got a reminder of it recently on the 10-year anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, is what happened after that disaster. So Katrina is an example of just how much the neoliberal project of hollowing out the state is incompatible with what we need to do in the face of climate change. Because what happened during Hurricane Katrina is that the state just wasn't there. The government just wasn't there. And people who did depend on there being a functional state at the municipal, state, federal level were just abandoned. If you had money, you could get in your car, drive out of the city. But if you needed your city to have an evacuation plan, if you needed your federal government to have an effective disaster response plan, then you confronted what Paul Krugman calls the can't-do state. And just everything broke down. But that was only the first stage of the disaster. The second stage of the disaster was what happened afterwards, when all of these opportunists descended on an evacuated and emptied out New Orleans and treated it like a blank slate to project their corporate fantasies. They closed down many of New Orleans' public schools. New Orleans is now the most privatized school system in the United States. They decided not to reopen the only hospital that was public hospital that was serving low-income residents. They bulldozed New Orleans public housing, much of New Orleans public housing, including buildings that were not at all damaged during the storm, and replaced them with condominiums. So seeing that, when I went to New Orleans, and talked about the shock doctrine and disaster capitalism, there was a sort of pivotal moment for me when a local activist named Saket Soni, some of you may have heard me tell this story when I was talking about the shock doctrine. Saket Soni stood up and said, look, he runs a local workers' center in New Orleans. He says, look, they have disaster capitalism. We need disaster collectivism. We need our own responses that actually get at the root causes of why we are being hit with more and more disasters in the first place. So that's what I'm trying to do with this book, is sort of lay out a bit of a roadmap. But much more excitingly, since the book came out, that I've been part of a process here in Canada, and specifically in Ontario, of bringing social movements together to try to map out what a people's shock might be like, what a people's agenda to climate change might look like, that took justice seriously, that took equity seriously. And on Tuesday, we're going to be unveiling a document that we're calling the LEAP Manifesto. As I said before, fear can make you leap. It's also worth remembering that next year is a leap year. We have a leap year, as you know, every 4 years. We add an extra day to the calendar in deference to the Earth's rotation around the sun, because our calendars actually don't match up to it. So it's this rare expression of humility that our systems are easier to change, our human-created systems are easier to change than the laws of nature. So I actually think leap year is a great metaphor for how we need to change our economic system in deference to the laws of nature. And so this came out of this a really wonderful process of thinking about what would really bind together a justice-based transition to 100% renewable energy as quickly as our engineers are telling us it's possible to do. Drafting this and meeting with people about this, it created some of the tensest and most honest discussions I've ever seen between Indigenous leaders and labor leaders representing workers in the tar sands, between migrant rights activists and labor activists. It's not simple. It actually is really, really hard work, and it reminded all of us how rare it is actually to get in rooms with one another from different sectors. Greenpeace is, fighting with Unifor over forestry in Quebec, but they were both in the room, and we worked through this. And so we're launching this manifesto on Tuesday, using some of the fairy dust of the TIFF festival. It's been endorsed by, I was joking with some of my American friends, Canada doesn't have that many celebrities, but we have all of them, or almost all of them. I'm not going to say any more than that. It's a surprise on Tuesday. Lots of fantastic organizations. And so we start to map out what it would look like to have an economic system that was not based on extracting as much as possible from the earth, no matter the consequences, extracting as much as possible from people in their labor, no matter the consequences, but was based on an ethos of caretaking, of caring for one another and caring for the planet. And the other reason why we need to leap instead of taking little baby steps is that we are facing these multiple overlapping crises. It isn't just the climate crisis. We are facing an inequality crisis. We're facing a refugee crisis. We have ongoing crises of exclusion along lines of gender and race. And we need to address it all. And I think too often the environmental movement has had this attitude of like, well, first we have to solve climate change, because if we don't have a planet, nothing else matters, and my issue is bigger than your issue. And that doesn't work, and that's not how you really build a huge movement that is based on the fact that we really are all under the same tent, that tent being the Earth's atmosphere. So starting from the premise that we need to be guided by science, by what science is telling us, and also by what engineers are telling us we can do, it means that there's no longer an excuse for building new infrastructure projects that lock us into increased extraction decades into the future. So no new oil pipelines, no expanded export terminals for oil and gas. If you wouldn't want it in your backyard, it doesn't belong in anyone's backyard. No new sacrifice zones is one of the iron laws of this transition. It's also about changing not just where we get our energy from, but how it's produced. The system, and energy democracy is a slogan that is spreading around the world. And it comes from what we're seeing in the German transition, where it isn't just about embracing, massive wind farms and solar arrays, but much of the transition is decentralized, community-owned and controlled. There are 900 new energy cooperatives in Germany that are part of this transition. So we want to encourage that kind of community-controlled energy where the resources stay in the communities. If there's profits made, they go back to paying for services. You do, sweetheart? Okay, I'm almost done. But the other thing is that if there's money going to community-controlled energy, that Indigenous people need to be first in line to own and control their own energy. And that is part of healing the wounds that date back to this country's founding. The sacrifice zones of the past need to be the transformation zones of the future. That's how we heal our country. There's a lot of other elements to this, including opening our borders to many more migrants and refugees, full rights for all workers in Canada. It also means an end to corporate free trade deals that give corporations the power to interfere with our attempts to rebuild our local economies, to regulate corporations, and stop damaging extractive projects. It also means, as I said, it's going to create a whole lot of green jobs, but we need to make sure that they're good jobs, that they're unionized jobs, that they pay a living wage. But we also need to expand our definition of what a green job is. Right now we tend to just think of it as somebody who is, putting on solar panels on a roof. We already have many low-carbon sectors. The caregiving professions are all low-carbon. Teachers are low-carbon workers, unless they fly around too much. Guilty. But these are the sectors, teaching, the arts, caregiving, all kinds of healthcare that are systematically under siege under the auspices of austerity. Austerity is incompatible with a serious response to climate change. The money we need to pay for this transition is out there. We just need to get at it. Like an end to fossil fuel subsidies, financial transaction taxes, increased royalties, higher income taxes on corporations, and cuts to military spending. This is all based on a polluter pays principle. So it's time, in other words, not just to have reactive fights, responding to the latest attacks that come down, attacking human rights and environmental standards. We need to fight for the world that we actually want. I think this drop in oil prices is not a crisis. I think it is a gift, a pause in the frenetic action that is allowing us to slow down, stop, look in the mirror at what we have become, and decide to change. This is a lot to take on all at once. But it is not impossible. We must always remember this. Difficult is not the same as impossible. Huge social movements have changed the world before through a magical combination of culture, theory, spirituality, policy, and law, and we can do it again. We will be told it's impractical, unrealistic, unserious, making the perfect the enemy of the good, all of that. But I want to end with some words from Nauru, who is one of the small Pacific islands that is quite vulnerable to climate change. And they come from Marlene Moses. They're in the book. When she said these words, she wasn't just representing Nauru. She was speaking as a representative of all the Pacific Island nations that are some of the most vulnerable to climate change. She said, as leaders, we have a responsibility to fully articulate the risks our people face. If the politics are not favorable to speaking truthfully, then clearly we must devote more energy to changing the politics. Clearly, we must. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. By the way, that is the first time my son has ever sat through an entire speech. There may have been some So thank you for that. You witnessed history tonight.
Hi.
Hi.
In the book, you tell how you went into the home turf of some of the most vociferous and powerful climate change denier groups and survived. I was going to ask you about what that experience was like, but we've got a time constraint. But you take issue, of course, with those groups, but you also have points of agreement. Can you tell us about that and the significance of that?
Yeah, so I spent some time with the Heartland Institute, which is this think tank that hosts this annual conference of climate change deniers, and they're probably it's the most sort of high-profile climate denying event. And you know, obviously, I disagree with them completely about the science, but what I think they understand is that if the science is true, then it requires dramatic political change. And I think they've understood this for a long time. And the Heartland Institute, which is now almost exclusively associated with climate change denial, that's the only thing we ever hear about them doing, they are not actually, that's not their main thing. They are a free market think tank that was founded in the 80s. And, you know, much like, you know, the Fraser Institute, you know, they're sort of like that. So mostly what they do is advocate those policies that I was mentioning earlier, privatization, deregulation, free trade, et cetera. And they're very honest that, and I interviewed Joe Bass, the head of the Heartland Institute, and he said, well, I realized that if the science was true, then it would mean that there could be any kind of government regulation, and it would be basically like a gift to the left, you know. And so he said, and so I took another look at the science. I mean, they're very clear about what is motivating the science, that if it's true, it explodes their ideological project. So I think they understand that. And then there are a lot of big green groups out there, I won't name any names, but have been spending a lot of time going, we can respond to climate change basically without changing. You know, you won't even notice it. Just change your light bulb and get a hybrid. We'll have an emission trading scheme. Everything will be the same. Arundhati Roy, she says, you know, there are too many, she calls it the environmentalism of the city, you know, as opposed to environmentalism of the poor, as it's called in India. And she says, you know, they keep trying to ask, how can we change without changing? You know, and so I think there's different kinds of denial.
You're very fair. You wage war on the political right, but then you take shots at the left and environmental groups. I'm thinking, wow, they're wonderful, and they're obviously messing up too.
Well, look, I mean, it's not all environmental groups by any means, and you know, I'm very, very happy to work with all kinds of fantastic social movements. As I mentioned, this project we're working on is just, you know, comes out of work with Greenpeace, 350, No One is Illegal, and all kinds of other great groups, and lots of unions. But I do think that there was a phenomenon that happened. It was much worse in the United States than it was in Canada, where there was a deliberate strategy among some very large green groups, which was just essentially, if you can't beat them, join them. And so you have a group like the Environmental Defense Fund in the US, different from Environmental Defense in Canada. EDF in the States is one of the biggest, richest, most influential environmental groups. They were formed in the 1970s, inspired by Rachel Carson's Silent Spring, and their motto was, "Sue the bastards." And by their own admission, they changed their internal motto to "make markets for the bastards." And you know, then it all became about the fact that they had partnerships with McDonald's and you know, and Walmart, and they were really the key architects of the the idea that responding to climate change could be done through emission trading. And it's been very profitable for them. You know, the truth is, you know, they get massive amounts of money from Wall Street. This is a very profitable idea. It's just not a very effective idea when it comes to lowering emissions.
One of the things that impressed me in the book was your detective work. You, especially uncovering the money trail. And I think you have a statement, you discovered the firewalls between the mouths and the money. Did you feel like a detective?
Well, there was some pretty serious detective work that we had to do around auditing Richard Branson, for instance. And I'm blessed to work with an amazing team of researchers. But yeah, this moment when we discovered that the Nature Conservancy, which is the largest green group in the world, actually the largest NGO period in the world that works in 35 countries, does some fantastic work, as does EDF. But, their national organization in the States, basically what we discovered is that EDF has its own oil well in Texas on a piece of land that they were supposed to be protecting for a very endangered bird. And they decided that it would be a good source of income if they just started drilling for oil and gas. And I mean, it's surreal. It is absolutely surreal. And they're still doing it.
Great story. Now, I imagine you've made some enemies along the way, or at least ruffled some feathers. Have you ever felt under threat or danger? I mean, I say this because even scientists, they're looking at ordinary things. They've had offices broken into, files stolen. You managed to escape that?
Yeah, I think I felt a little more nervous when I was doing some of the work around the shock doctrine when the Bush government was in power, and and I don't know. I mean, I think at a certain point, particularly around the shock doctrine, we accepted that there was definitely a certain amount of surveillance going on, and I guess I don't spend that, denial. It works on many fronts, right? Mostly I think I just feel unwelcome, not unsafe.
Given the shots you take, I'm surprised you have any friends at all.
But, all of you.
You're very fair. You take shots at everyone. Given the time, I'm going to go to some of the core arguments in the book. And it seems that climate change, in fact, the book sort of argues this, is not occurring simply because of capitalism or deregulated capitalism or even neoliberalism, the power of the individual in the market. And it's not even because of the political right. Humans have been treating the atmosphere, and I'm almost quoting the book now, as a waste dump for centuries, certainly since the Industrial Revolution, and before. It's just that we didn't have the technology to do a really good job of putting our waste up there. And humans have exploited the environment under all forms of economy and governance, not just capitalism, under authoritarian rules, under communism, under whatever you like. So why capitalism as the root thing? It seems it's something other than that.
Well, look, there's a few things in there. But, why capitalism? Because capitalism is the dominant economic system. And really what the book is about is how our dominant economic system is standing in the way of what we need to do to act on climate change. And I think particularly, in my talk tonight, I focused on neoliberalism. But in the book, I argue that it is more than just neoliberalism because we now need to cut our emissions so deeply and so rapidly that it's really not compatible with an economic system that pursues economic growth at its center. It doesn't mean that there can't be parts of our economies that grow. They will grow as we take climate change seriously, as we invest in all of these low-carbon sectors. But there are also going to be parts of our economy that contract. And so it's a much more managed economy than we have right now. And some people counter, well, look, you can have green growth, but nobody is reckoning with the kind of numbers that the Tyndall Center is talking about of 8 to 10% emission reduction, in countries like Canada, in developed countries. No economist in the world can tell you how you get emissions down by 8 to 10% within a paradigm of pursuing economic growth at all costs. You can maybe, get it to 4, but not 8, let alone 10. Kevin Anderson talks about selective degrowth. In the book, as you know, there's a chapter about extractivism and the fact that many of the left governments in Latin America, where you have some of the only left governments in the world, like Morales in Bolivia, Venezuela, in Ecuador, a lot of these governments are doing very good things, Brazil as well, on fighting poverty. But none of them are challenging the idea of an economic model that is based on extracting fossil fuels. And in fact, a lot of them are increasing their extraction of fossil fuels, particularly in the midst of the commodity boom that we've just gone through. Now, there are complicated reasons for that, and you can certainly make the argument that Ecuador and Bolivia did their best to make an argument that wealthy countries should be helping them leapfrog over fossil fuels and helping them defray the costs. Korea, in particular, went to the UN with a really innovative proposal around the Yasuni oil, the oil in the Yasuni National Park, and he was basically ignored. So he's like, well, I'm going to dig up the oil now. If you won't help me defray the costs of keeping that oil in the ground, why should a poor country bear the entire burden when we didn't produce this crisis? So that said, I think there's two problems. One, I don't think it is all humans. I think some humans, not all humans. And when we blame humanity and turn this into a human nature issue and make it about the fact that, ever since humans discovered ever since humans discovered fire, it was inevitable that we would dig up all the pools of carbon on Earth and burn them as if there's no tomorrow. That is the product of a very specific worldview that comes from a very specific place that a very small percentage of humans actually share, which is that the Earth is a machine, that we are its engineers. Most humans on this planet actually still approach nature with reverence, a healthy dose of fear. The indigenous people in northern Alberta knew the bitumen was there. They used it to to waterproof their canoes. They didn't dig it up and burn it. It's not because they hadn't discovered fire, In India, they knew they had coal, but it wasn't until the British came and decided to turn it into a market. So I think it comes down to, it's not just about capitalism. I think it comes down to Descartes' idea of man as masters and possessors of nature. But I think it's really hard to separate that from the birth of capitalism, because it's all happening around the same time, in Europe. It's like the steam engine, here first comes the idea, the church is sort of blessing it, it's intersecting with colonialism, then along comes the steam engine, and this idea that we are apart from nature, that we really can be this, be the engineers. We don't have to think about where the wind blows. We don't have to, before the steam engine, we could only sail ships when the wind blew. We had to build our factories next to rushing water. Even if you were rich, you had to be in dialogue with nature.
So this widespread acceptance of this worldview, I don't see how that gets to be changed. If you look at the latter chapters of the book, where you give the ingredients for your recipe. It's things like local resistance, and fossil fuel divestment, local laws barring risky extraction, court challenges by indigenous groups. Where is the change in individual worldview and individual behaviour and all of that?
Yeah.
Especially for all the people like us who emit like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah. But I do think that there has been a willingness for people to take individual action, and I think part of the problem is that the first phase of sort of how do we respond to climate change put all the emphasis on the individual. Where I was talking before about change your light bulb. It was sort of like what you personally as an individual can do to change the world. And I think a lot of people did change the way they behaved.
That was after they thought that it was going to be all done at a big conference somewhere. That would be the change. And we didn't have to do anything.
But I think at a certain point, people started feeling like chumps. Like, okay, I'm recycling, and, I'm biking, I'm using transit, I'm composting, I'm doing all the good things. But Canada's emissions are 30% higher than where they were supposed to be, and, the tar sands is burning like crazy. And there was never an equitable approach to the change. The change was never evenly distributed. We never had a polluter pays framework for that change. And so people have backlashed against that. But I also think you can point to moments where people did embrace that need for change. And then it got derailed for various reasons, whether, an economic crisis that pit jobs versus the environment. But I do think there are these moments when people get motivated and then they get discouraged. In terms of that shift in worldview, one of the most interesting things I find about the resistance movements against the pipelines, against fracking, against export coal and gas export terminals, as I mentioned, these are all movements where Indigenous people are on the front lines, and where there's been a lot of cross-pollination between Indigenous groups and farmers, ranchers, fishing people, and I actually think that that's where where you see the seeds of that worldview shift. It's also a process of remembering that we didn't always see the earth as a machine. Like, for in the book I tell this story of this great fight against coal in Montana, where it's ranchers and Indigenous folks who've come together and realize, well, actually, they actually have a similar attitude towards the land, and that there is a history of stewardship. I'm pretty excited about the Pope's encyclical.
You have some good friends. We're going to
look, when the Pope himself is going, you guys got it all wrong about this Dominion thing. You're not in charge. That's a pretty powerful advocate to have in your corner.
So we're going to give a few people a chance to ask you questions, and while the people are identifying a desire to do so, and the mic's going there, I have one last thing for you. For the people here today who are convinced by the arguments in your book, what do you suggest they do, like the rest of today, tomorrow, next week, this year?
And in the election. Look, I'm not going to be telling people how to vote except for get Harper out. Just get him out. I think we can work with any combination, permutation, beyond that. Because this is the work we're trying to do with the Elite Manifesto, which is based on the idea that, we know that the major opposition parties have decided not to make climate change an election issue, so they're not going to get elected with a mandate. So we're going to be kicking this thing off on Tuesday, and the first thing you can do is go to elitemanifesto.org, sign it, hammer your local representatives over the head with it, start a local LEAP working group, and get ready to leap.
Join a movement of hope. So where do we have a question? First one?
Question right here. Stand up.
Right here?
Yeah.
And we're going to keep them short, please, because we have a little time.
Quickly, Elizabeth May is going to be here on Tuesday. That's all I'm going to say in terms of politics. Disinvestment.
Listen to Elizabeth May.
Yeah, absolutely.
And get rid of Harper.
Yes, disinvestment. I heard about the University of Waterloo trying to persuade their university to disinvest. When you disinvest, how would you suggest people reinvest?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's a great question, and I actually think it's another example of how the no is starting to answer, creating a framework of answering that question of what does the yes look like? What do we want to, what do we want to say yes to, and what do we want to support? And more the divestment movement is becoming a divest/invest movement, and there are debates about that, right? Like there are parts of that movement who are saying, it's just put it in green tech, it doesn't matter what kind, it's better than fossil fuels, we just need renewables to grow. And I do think that should be part of it. And frankly, there are not enough investment-ready alternatives, right? So I think that we need, that are going to take, the billions of dollars that are currently invested in fossil fuels. Like most really great local projects are not actually something that the stock market can invest in. So we need to create mechanisms that are investable and that can get money to, local community-controlled energy, but also things like municipal bonds so that we can support local infrastructure, local transit. And I think that while the no is universal, right, like that we all need to divest from the same fossil fuel companies, the yes is actually very place-specific and needs to come out of a local process and a democratic one with any luck of thinking about how there's a justice, that can be a justice-based investment. Yeah.
So do we have a question over here, please?
Yes. Hi, thank you for being here, Naomi. You had mentioned that all the major political parties, they are all picking and choosing which pipelines they support, and they're not listening to the scientists. And Also, they all support these investor-state dispute settlement clauses in trade agreements. All the three major political parties do that. So I'm wondering, how is it that we can best persuade them to adopt better policies? And I know you're not including the Greens as major because they're against all tar sand expansion and more pipelines, and they're against these investor-state dispute settlement clauses. So what do we do to get the major political parties on board, or what do we do then to maybe support parties that already have that as their platform?
Yeah, and I mean, I think that the Greens are playing a really, really important role in this election, keeping those issues on the agenda that do reflect large parts of the Canadian population and public opinion. And you know, I mean it. I mean, everybody come out and listen to Elizabeth May. Use your judgment depending on where you live about how you cast your vote. I mean, like, Elizabeth is very straightforward about her desire to have Harper out as much as any of us, right? But I think the main thing that we need to really understand is that, you know, when you have had a government like the Harper government, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here because, you know, we haven't got them out yet. But when you've had a government like this that, you know, and so many people are really just so embattled, you know, because they're kind of attacking everybody all at once. You know, the labor movement is just suffering under this government. We know the attacks on Indigenous rights, on environmental standards, on migrants. There's this really bad historical tendency to, once you get the bad guys out, to just chill. You know, just be like, okay, let's see what happens, let the chips fall where they may. And I think particularly if we're looking at a coalition, it's going to be very fluid. And because of that, like, post-election is the absolute worst time for people to relax. Like, after the election, if there is some kind of coalition, we need to be more engaged in terms of putting forward these priorities, whether it's investor states or whether it is tar sands moratorium, you know, whether it is, you know, major investments in green infrastructure, all of it. And this is why what we're trying to do with Elite Manifesto is to have something people can rally around that connects the dots on these issues, that, you know, hits all of those points. And push and show that, you know, just because their pollsters told them that this was not the winnable issue and people were more interested in bank fees than they were in climate change, that does not mean that we need to sit by and waste another, you know, half a decade, because we don't have it. We just don't have it.
So do we have another microphone over here? Who's got the microphone up the back here somewhere, please? Go ahead.
Hi. So we actually, just to expand on the first speaker's question, we actually do have an active student divestment campaign at Guelph, and we have for the past few years. Yeah, it's great. So I wanted to take this time with all these Guelph folks in the room to ask maybe what you think it would mean for a university like Guelph to divest from fossil fuels, and what do you think is required on the part of the university administration and faculty? Specifically going back to your comments on fear, because much of the pushback on our campaign has revolved around fear on part of the administration and the faculty. So how can Guelph take leadership on divestment, and how would you see that happening?
Well, okay, thank you. And I mean, the fact is, Canada's behind on divestment. I mean, divestment is spreading so quickly around the world. The city of Paris has announced that it's going to be divesting. You know, Prince Charles is divesting. The Bank of England thinks it's a good idea. So, sorry, Guelph, you're actually not going to lead. You are behind. You're behind. And you have some, you know, incredible, you know, I mean, where I actually think we've seen some of the best divestment campaigns is when faculty and students come together really powerfully, and the students are fighting for their futures, and the faculty are saying, we need you to act as if You believe that science matters. You believe the work that we do matters. And the whole climate change denial movement is an attack on academia, is an attack on knowledge. And this Naomi Oreskes, who wrote Merchants of Doubt and teaches at Harvard, has just been absolutely brilliant on this. And she's really been leading the faculty side of the Harvard divestment movement, which unfortunately hasn't won yet. But they had 100 faculty members at Harvard sign a declaration calling for fossil fuel divestment. So, I think it would be great to see something like that. No pressure, Barry. No, but I think the fear in a country like Canada, where there is, with the fossil fuel, we're told that our economy is so dependent on fossil fuels. One of the things we need to do is actually stand up to that, because it's not true. Fossil fuels are a very minor part of our economy, but also the fact that it's a part of our economy that's in collapse, right? So it's actually really smart as an investor to not gamble on fossil fuels anymore.
When Charles Darwin published The Origin of the Species, and I wasn't there at the time, but I understand that there was a lot of reaction to it. It was a radical view. It challenged the conventional wisdoms. It upset a lot of people. And when Charles Darwin gave a talk, a lot of people in the audience didn't agree with him, and they had both the courage and the courtesy to stand up and challenge. Is there anyone in this room? It sounds like a choir all singing in unison here. Is there anyone here who has a different view? Please, give this lady a microphone.
Perhaps just a matter of emphasis, because I read every page of your book recently. I read The Shock Doctrine. I admire you. I admire the both of you and what you just discussed. And coming from that discussion, I am hugely concerned that all of us in this room are huge overconsumption people. And this is human nature problem. Huge. And we fight. And we fight in our own families. We fight in our universities as to who gets what, essentially. It comes down to money. I think you have a bit on that. Where's the money? And where's the advantage? Where's the lifestyle? And North American lifestyle, where does that go? And the other parts of the world wanting something like this, where does it go? And so this matter of emphasis is that how in the heck are we collectively and politically, with political leaders, because we can't do it just as a public movement, that's changing our mood or our attitudes and so forth. That can happen. We can go against slavery, although it still exists in this world. But we can go against people who oppose civil rights and so forth. These things can happen in a grassroots way. But we need political parties to actually organize this. I was reading about the bubonic plague recently in 16th century England because of a book I was reading, and they were organized, horribly in many ways, but they did organize in their society to shut down, the playhouses and so forth in order for that to not go ahead. So you need top-down organization to get people to stop consuming as much as we do. We do not need those granite kitchen countertops.
Okay. Thank you for that dissenting view. Yeah, Naomi?
Sure, I'll take it as a comment.
Because my question to you was on the digitalization of the world, and you've not really used that word at all today. And that I know I have my phone and I'm looking around, there's people who are actually taping you, and so, people will be able to watch this online, these kinds of things. So I'm an artist, I'm a dancer and a writer, and I know that the arts itself is being digitized a lot, and dancers are like, oh, this is exciting, people can finally see our work on a global scale, because dancers are sort of stuck with very minimal amounts of being able to be seen, I guess. But this whole movement of digitalization is, causing an incredible amount of damage to the earth, physically, and where are we going to throw it all away, and all these problems. So how do you present the situation where you want to have activism, and one of the easiest ways to get activism going is to have an online chat room, or to have a blog, or to have And how do you do that when really what we need to be doing is divesting out of the digital media, because if we don't, it's not going to last. You know, and it's sort of touching on what she was saying, in that how do we do that and yet also get our word out? Mm-hmm. And especially with the generations that are coming up through the universities, you tell them not to carry their phone, they're going to look at you like, what? You know, like it's part of their arm. Yeah. So how do you get that idea across in this kind of environment?
Well, I think that these are very complementary points, aren't they? That we do need to consume less. And one of the things we need to consume less of is, electronics that have built-in obsolescence, and I think that this also ties in with Barry's question about that worldview shift, because I think at the heart of it, and this is one of the things I actually find most inspiring about the Pope's encyclical, is the extent to which it foregrounds consumer culture and really names consumption as the heart of the problem. And the phrase, the throwaway culture, comes up again and again in the encyclical. A culture that treats the earth as a garbage can, but also treats people like garbage, treats refugees like garbage. And I say all of this as a secular Jewish feminist, pro-choice, and pro-gay marriage, and all the other things the Pope and I disagree on. But I do, the Pope and I don't actually know the Pope, by the way. So I do think we need to, and in my work, I really have tried to sort of foreground that. That's what No Logo was about, and but I do think that this consumer culture that we have, and this hyper competition culture that we have, yes, it's part of human nature, but human nature is complex. We are greedy and self-interested and short-sighted, and we are compassionate and loving and caring. And we're capable of thinking 7 generations into the future as humans. Those are also humans, So, like, but there are other systems and worldviews that show that humans are capable of long-term thought. It's just that we live within a culture that encourages the opposite, that encourages us to. So we are this mess of contradictions, and we also live within systems that light up different parts of ourselves and encourage those parts of us that are most, short-term thinking and self-interested, and also encourage them in ways where it may look like selfishness, but it's actually compassion. I mean, if you create, a completely precarious situation for people, if you don't provide them with health care, if you don't provide them, with public education, with good public education, then they're going to say, whatever it takes for me to make money for my kids, I have to do, right? That may look like selfishness, but it's actually, parents caring for their families. So I think that's just one of the ways that our system lights up those parts of us that are most self-destructive. And what we need to be thinking about are what are the systems that will encourage those parts of us that are also there, that are caring and generous and are capable of empathy. I mean, you look at, we are the people who turned our backs on the Kurdi family. That's us. We are the throwaway culture, but we're also the people who are opening their homes and going, no, I don't want this to be us, right? So we need to change the rules. And I mean, that relates also to electronics. Europe has passed a law that it's little, but it requires that cell phone companies have to have compatible chargers so that we don't all have 1 million chargers. I mean, you look at, like, I was in a hotel room the other day and it had one of those alarm clocks where you're supposed to put an iPhone, and it was like 5 iPhones ago that it was compatible with, right? So it's not just the iPhones, it's like there's all of these things that go with those iPhones that are now totally out of date, there are laws, we could regulate that, and that sounds crazy, like, what, you can't tell corporations what to do. Yes, you can. You could tell them that they, that this is something you shouldn't do. Yeah.
So, yes. So to allow those who would like to have the physical book signed, we'll call this conversation component of the session to an end, and Don, you're going to speak.
Yes.
Well, was that great? When we started a little earlier, I didn't know that we'd be going from climate change to digitization to the Pope, so we've covered a lot of territory today. And as you see, the problems are big questions around human conduct on a very large scale, what can be done on a large scale in government and leadership and so forth, and even down a very small level of our daily existence and how we choose to spend our lives and consume or not consume the riches of the world. I'd like everyone, please, to thank Naomi Klein and Barry Smith today for this presentation. And just to remind you, books are available at the front. The signing will take place over here near the stage. Please line up down the center. And I've also been asked to tell you that if you want to keep your tickets as souvenirs, you can pick them up at the front. Thank you very much for coming today.